I'm standing here with Justin. We're out the Lan Su Chinese Gardens, and we are in the Courtyard of Tranquility. And it is a very tranquil place in here, Justin. And there's amazing fragrances and flowers and different unique things that you look at when you walk in. You know, for instance, bonsai?
So many people would call this a bonsai, which is a Japanese aesthetic, but this is a Chinese predecessor to that, known as Penjing. And Penjing predates bonsai by at least 1,000 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was brought to Japan later, where they developed a different aesthetic. But this particular juniper is part of the collection of the Kyodai brothers collection, and they're brothers in Southeast Portland, so they kindly let us borrow some of their plants. And this juniper gives you a feeling of being up in the mountains. It looks like it's part dead, and it's
Right.
more of a literal representation of nature than you would see in bonsai.
You know, and there's also a lot of fragrance and flowering going on right now. Like,
Yes.
for instance, you know, the gardenias are in full bloom and, you know, very fragrant when you walk in.
Gardenia is a very important plant in a Chinese garden. Fragrance is very important in a Chinese garden. One of the important elements. They've been in Chinese horticulture and ornamental horticulture, they've been growing gardenias for at least the last 15 to 1700 years that we know of. And having fragrance throughout the garden is very important, especially in the summer.
And then, you know, we walked by a pomegranate on the way in too, and there's some symbolism with the pomegranate throughout the gardens, right?
Yeah, so the pomegranate represents having plenty or bountiful, as represented by many seeds in a pomegranate. And we have 2 pomegranates in the garden, one that's flowering and has some fruit on it developing right now.
And then there are some like little statues up on the ceilings you were pointing out.
Yes, actually, so the plant material is oftentimes represented in the architecture and other elements of the garden as well. So we, on the gable of the roof of our pavilion here, we have a pomegranate represented as well.
Very cool. And then you also were saying that the lotus are blooming.
The lotus are blooming, yes. They're an iconic symbol of the summer.
Gotcha. So let's walk over and go take a look at the lotus.
Oh.
And we're out here in the heart of the garden here and out by the pond, and the lotus are coming into bloom. And the lotus is a very symbolic flower too for the gardens, right? Indeed.
The lotus is an iconic summer symbol for Chinese culture and for the Chinese garden. And they also have a representation of sort of attaining perfection or virtue or integrity. They start out deep in the mud, and then as they emerge from the water, they open up to this perfect flower. So it's like Buddha attaining that kind of perfection, if you will.
Right. You know, and by looking at it, you know, they're full of buds. They're just now starting to open. You say there's more and more coming in all the time to fill up the garden. So, you know, if people were to come out to the gardens, you guys are open. You know, what should they expect, or what's the best protocols for them to come visit?
So if they start online, we have a timed entry, and we're open from 10 to 5. And we welcome guests. They can stay for about an hour.
Right.
They can enjoy the tea house. We have a to-go walk-up window where you can have some tea and some snacks.
Okay.
So you could still enjoy the garden. It's just a little bit different. We have a one-way system for visitors to walk and enjoy the garden, but it's pretty much the same garden, but just a little bit restrained or limited as far as what direction you can walk.
Right. So the best thing, you know, go to the website, you know, make an appointment to walk in. You know, you'll get all the information as far as, you know, protocols throughout the garden. You know, as they're changing all the time. But, you know, it's just important for people to know, you know, the gardens are open. You know, they're coming into bloom. They're stunning. So, Justin, it's been a pleasure to be down here to visit the gardens and have this tour. They look great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.